In this podcast, you'll meet Scott Beveridge, the e-commerce manager from powerhousefitness.co.uk. Powerhouse Fitness started 30 years ago, and they have 10 retail stores across the UK, and they have 40 to 50 members of staff that interact with Magento every day. Oh, and guess what? They're using M2E Pro to sell on to eBay. Because of their sheer size of their business, Powerhouse Fitness may be a few steps in front of you. Personally, I found this interview with Scott very insightful, and I know Dave did too. Let's dig in and hear the story behind Powerhouse Fitness and what they're up to and what their plans are for the future. So, Scott, can you tell us a little bit more about what your business does and how the business started?
Yeah, sure. So the business is Powerhouse Fitness. Not surprisingly, we sell fitness equipment and nutrition products. The business started about 30 years ago. It's a family-owned and privately run company, and there's two brothers that still run the company. It was started as a not-for-profit company initially by their father, going back over 30 years ago. He's a very senior figure in the world of weightlifting. He's now, I think, into his 80s and is still really involved with the Olympic Games and weightlifting circles. And he's a historian of weightlifting. And he was involved in the Highland Games way back. I think, interestingly, I think he still holds the world record for the chest expander as well.
Whoa, okay.
A rare fact about him. And he's an OBE for his services, so he's a very well-respected guy in the industry. And the Powerhouse name, or the Ladier name, which is the holding company, was passed along to his two sons, who then started Powerhouse Fitness as an actual trading entity. And they started with just one shop, one store in Glasgow, and they took the orders, and customers came through the door, and they would put things into the van and take them themselves and deliver them out to local businesses and local consumers who come in to order a treadmill or a set of weights or whatever they were looking for. So very, very modest beginnings, and from there the company grew. Now we have 10 retail outlets nationwide. We ship through our telesales team internationally. We have a sort of concession store in Harrods in London, and we're probably a true multi-channel, omni-channel type business, because we also have a very strong online presence. We have multiple websites, and we trade on multiple marketplaces like Amazon and eBay.
Wow, so you really are everywhere. Wherever you could be, you kind of already there, yeah?
Yeah, in most cases. From a retail side, we've got reasonably good coverage with our stores been quite well spread out. We go as far north as Aberdeen and as far down as London. And likewise online, we've got a foothold in what I would deem to be the right places.
Excellent. So how did you start with eBay and Amazon? Did you do them both at the same time, or did you just start on eBay? What kind of happened there with the business?
We started on Amazon, so we've been dealing with Amazon a lot longer than we've been dealing with eBay. We've had more time to mature with Amazon, is maybe the best way to put it. We've learned more, just given that we've been trading there longer. With eBay, we had a go at eBay quite some time ago, a few years ago, and we didn't have much success. And since that point, we stopped trading on eBay. We went back to basics to work out what we were doing wrong and what we could do better. Part of that change and that plan was using the M2E module that's offered for Magento customers, and we've significantly improved our eBay business. Not just business levels, but customer service levels and numerous other things have been improved, facilitated by the use of that module. So yeah, that's the background to the two marketplaces.
Okay. So changing the topic slightly, you're using Magento for your websites at the moment. How have you found it?
Generally, very good. Magento is obviously a really popular e-commerce platform, one of the most popular, if not the most popular in the world, and the market share seems to be growing. I think that the scalability Magento brings to the table, the fact that it's so powerful, it can be so feature-rich, you can add and customize almost any aspect of it. We run many plugins, some custom plugins, some plugins from Magento Connect. We run all of our feeds and scripts through Magento, and we feed lots of different parts of the business essentially from that system. So in that sense, it's like a one-stop shop. It's very powerful. It's a really good tool to have, and from that aspect, I don't think it would change. The difficulty of working with Magento, and maybe the other side of that coin, is I think sometimes people don't quite appreciate or realise how difficult it can be. It's quite a specialist tool, and it's a specialist area. So because of that, the development time and cost when you're trying to make changes or make improvements and enhance your site, that can often be underestimated.
Is that in time or cost or complexity?
Yeah, I think in all those areas. If we're trying to make changes to the site, then quite often you need someone with a strong, not only PHP or MySQL or development background, but ideally someone with specific Magento experience, because Magento wants things done in its own kind of way, and keep it to the best practices and make sure you don't create more problems for yourself down the line. And we've been victim to that kind of thing before, and we continue to try and veer away from taking any shortcuts and make sure we do things properly. Right through to the cost of things. Just recently we've upgraded our server capacity, which has been an additional cost, almost an unforeseen cost when we're running a 5-server setup with a database cluster.
Oh wow!
Essentially, if you're starting out, then you might think Magento is great, and it is great. Don't get me wrong; it's got all these good features and all these things going for it. But if you get to a certain size and to be able to run it efficiently, then obviously it's very demanding. So it needs the server power, the server capacity to be able to execute all these tasks.
Okay, so it sounds like you went to the next level and beyond some as well to make sure that the entire site's fast and it can do everything else which you want it to do as well.
Yeah, because we use it for so many different things. We use it for the websites, but also, as we're talking about just now, for marketplaces, and we have customer service teams and salespeople and various different people within the business in and out of that system to get the information that they need, right through to director level, running reports and extracting information from it. So yeah, this gives us certainly a more resilient solution, and also a scalable solution, so we can still add to the new server setup 12 months down the line, or 5 years down the line, or whenever it might be.
Okay, daft question. How many people touch the Magento website internally on a daily basis?
I would say about 40 or 50.
Whoa, so quite a large number of staff are actually using the administration panel in some form or other. Yeah. Even
right through to the retail staff, where you wouldn't think there's necessarily a connection, but they'll use the website or the back end of the website to maybe get some additional information on financing a product, or to get some more detail from a product description, or to show a customer some additional product images or some video footage of the machine in action. So it's used very widely by, I would say, almost every department within the business.
Oh wow, yeah, of course. Sorry, I've just realised that because you've got so many stores, there is a likelihood that you're going to have a product which is in maybe 4 of the stores, but not in the other 6 stores, for example. And they would have the kit. So rather than maybe having a specialist team just for the e-commerce and the products, you actually leverage the staff which are in the actual retail stores to add the extra information. I'm guessing that's what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's only so much inventory one of the stores can hold, and there's only so much they can display. So a lot of the bits of kit we sell, you can imagine a multi-gym or a treadmill, they're sometimes 100 kilogram big, bulky bits of kit, so you can only have so much visible. So the website's a great tool, and Magento's a great tool for the guys to then show the other, X hundred products that we actually have sitting in the warehouse, ready to ship to the customers.
That's crazy. So can you tell us, how did you find the M2E Pro extension? Did you find it for eBay? Did you find it for Amazon? How did you find it in the first place?
We found it for eBay. It came recommended from one of the developers that worked here, and we looked into it in a bit more detail, and it seemed to be a good solution. So we installed it and tested it, and it did what it said in the tin. It seemed to work pretty well, and it continues to get better. They're obviously on their continually rolling out improvement and new versions and upgrades to it. So it's becoming more and more stable and more and more feature-rich. But yeah, it was initially just to power our eBay store and control our eBay listings.
Do you also use M2E Pro to collect your Amazon orders as well?
We don't, but that's the plan. Once we're fully comfortable with eBay, then we would intend to use it for Amazon, and we do use it for Play as well, which doesn't have the same market share, certainly for our type of products, but we use it to power eBay and Play at the same time. When we've started using the M2E module with Magento, one of the best features and one of the things that we found very helpful was being able to split our product range off into different, essentially categories to marry up with our eBay categories. And we married them up with our Magento attribute sets from a product management point of view, catalogue management point of view. It's a really good part of the module and really helpful and saved us a lot of time. And we've created some custom categories using the module as well, and we've listed through that. So you could do things like create a category for products that are less than £20, let's say, and you could apply a shipping charge to those, whereas your other products might have free shipping because you're more likely to secure the sale on eBay if you get free shipping. But there might be some products where that's just not feasible, so you need to add a shipping charge in there. So the control it gives you over your listings and your categories has been really good.
Okay. Oh, Scott, do you mean, when you say categories, do you mean like Magento categories, or do you mean groups of listings or listing groups, and then you can have them separate? Yeah,
I'm referring to groups of listings, which we've married up against our Magento categories stroke attribute sets. So it's let us keep everything quite consistent. So we've got a raft of listing categories, which just makes managing each product type. So we can manage our treadmills in one way, we can manage our exercise bikes in a different way. So splitting them out into listing categories is obviously a real plus and nice and easy to do.
Indeed. And just a note there, Dave, that's exactly what we've been and done with the guides, is to break them out into groups. And Scott, I know you've not watched the guides for that section just yet, but what we show users to do is to when they first install M2E Pro, they create inadvertently, when they go through the setup wizard, they create a default listing group. So for all products to go into. But what we then go on to do is to create multiple listing groups, but based upon the attribute set for the products.
Exactly. Yeah,
so you can have size in one, you can have size color in another, and it just makes it really easy to break them up. But you could absolutely do what you're saying, what you've got, which is to break them up by postage. So you could have free postage group and you could have a paid for postage group. If that makes sense for you, then, because then all the common settings for that group are held for that whole group and not individually. Yeah. So if you want to revise them, you don't have to worry about that, some of these have got bespoke settings on them. You just know that everything in default is just got the default postage on there, or everything which has got free postage has just got free postage applied to it, and you know what's been applied.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the way we manage it as well, and it's worked brilliantly.
Okay, what else have you found?
The basics of it, so just in terms of synchronization, being able to sync all the customer details and the order details into a specific Magento store view is really very helpful, whether it's from a reconciliation point of view or from a reporting point of view. It really does that very well. There's not been too many instances where we've had any issues there. It tends to sync the customer details and order details very well. And likewise, you don't need to think about it. You can almost set it up and leave it. So once you've got your rules in place, then syncing the inventory, or when your inventory hits zero, and it automatically stops the listing or it automatically updates the pricing, then it really is a complete solution in that sense, that you don't need to go back and think about it and worry about these things. And it's a major headache when you've got a big catalogue. The flexibility with the syncing rules is great. The other thing we've done is map quite a lot of our custom Magento attributes. So again, very easy to do, but as we're setting up a new listing, then we'll pick out the attributes we want to, map them to the eBay listing, click the save button, and pops all that information across onto the eBay listing and the eBay page. So again, very easy to do, very helpful part of the module, very helpful tool, and straight away all the multiple product images and all the right information and product specification gets pushed straight through. And I think doing all of that, we've actually seen a significant improvement in our eBay DSR, or detailed seller ratings. So because we've not had to manually intervene or manage or deal with technical issues, then our overall customer experience and customer service levels have improved. So we now sit at today over 99.4%, and will fluctuate up above that kind of level. So there's these direct advantages that you'll see from using the module, but there's also hidden advantages that you might not directly link back to the module. But for us, we've certainly been able to improve customer service levels and improve feedback and communication because we have this managed solution in place.
Yeah, just to give you a head up to some of the things which are in the guides, is that we mould Magento so that it's more like a marketplace tool. So we show the user how to create 5 bullet points, so bullet 1 through to 5, tweak their Magento admin page. So instead of it being very Magento-fied with like lots and lots of tabs, we try and get the most amount of information onto the main product page as possible so that they can do their website actually the SKU is at the top. Then they put in their website title, their eBay title, their price, the bullet points, then the description, and some other basic information after it. And just a wider picture here is that because you've got it in Magento attributes, you can then put those Magento attributes in your description template in M2E Pro, and then that allows you to make really cool and professional looking listing templates. And back onto eBay, when you actually list your listing onto eBay, you can format it, you can apply a fully customized design to it, and it just makes it easier for the customer to read then because you've kind of segmented stuff out on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so when we spoke, you also mentioned that you've got your point of sale systems hooked up to Magento. Was that an easy solution to find?
Being honest, no, we've not yet found the right EPOS system that's got all the features we need. We have looked at and started testing the ebizmarts POS module.
Yep.
ebizmarts guys that did the Magento SagePay module, and they've got a really good foundation, a great tool, and we've set that up on our staging site, and we've synced the Magento store to the iPad version and the iPad app. We've tested printing, and it's great. It syncs all your customer data and your catalog information and product images and descriptions and these kind of things. So it's a really great start for a very early release. I think it's still in beta. So it's really exciting watching what the guys over there are doing.
Well, just to give you some dimension, is that, Dave, you've got that running on your iPad right now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I was talking to the guys over at ebizmarts, and they sent me over the beta to play with and have a look at and give them any feedback on. And like you said, Scott, I was looking at it thinking, for a beta, this is pretty damn good. I couldn't spot any massive flaws in it, or obviously I couldn't trial printing, for example, but I could see how you'd set that up, and if it all worked as it looked like it should, then it looked like a fantastic tool. And we've actually got a call with Ignacio next week, Matt, I believe.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks for sorting that one out.
Yeah, we went a stage further, so we've actually hooked it up to a Bluetooth printer, a tail receipt printer, and we managed to get some things printing off, and we ran some tests, and we were really thinking ahead, so we've given them quite a lot of feedback, and I believe they're taking as much of that as they can and building it into the next release. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what they come back with.
I mean, to be honest, it was by far, we had that situation, I don't know, a few months ago where we were looking around for different POS systems out there, and just none of them really seemed to fit what we were looking for. And then when we got chatting to ebizmarts, it all just seemed to make sense, and it looked like they finally had found the one that we were looking for from the beginning. It just wasn't ready yet. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've seen a couple of other good examples, but they're only available in the US. So again, it gives retailers and it gives them as developers a good place to look to see exactly what needs to be done to get it to that kind of level the customers are going to expect.
But as you say, it's a really good beta, it's a really good foundation, and I don't think they're far away. And I think it'll be the best option available, and a really good option for UK businesses.
Just one really curious question which I've got is that because you're going to be using your point of sale system basically in an iPad, does that mean you're going to have to get the counter holders for them as well, so they basically get bolted down to the desk so that they can't go wandering off with the iPad?
Yeah, we started discussing that at this end. Possibly we didn't come to a decision whether we actually lock it down to one of these sort of case units. I think there's other devices you can plug into the iPad, and there's a sort of sensor or an alarm that would sit next to the your old school cash register on the till desk. So if the iPad's taken a certain amount of feet away from the desk, then a wee alarm goes off. So there's a few different ways you could do it, but security is obviously a bit of an issue and a bit of a concern if you've got, depending on the size of your store, your retail outlet, or if you've got multiple stores like us, then all of a sudden you incur pretty significant hardware costs because you're having to buy a few iPads for every store that you have. But that said, I think the benefits that it can bring far outweigh what the initial cost would be.
Are the costs similar to what you would normally have to pay for a traditional EPOS system? Is it cheaper? Is it more expensive? You'll have to excuse the question. I'm not entirely sure how much a point of sale system would cost for that number of stores.
Yeah, to be honest, me either, because the system we have is a legacy system that has been in place for several years. It's been upgraded and kept up to date, and there's been some work done on it as time's gone on, but we've never had to, and never really wanted to overhaul that system because it's such a big job. But if you look at something like this, the cost or the sort of barrier to entry is pretty minimal. If you're talking about buying an iPad at £300 or £400, and that's your hardware cost, and maybe a wee Bluetooth printer, maybe that costs you another £50 or £100, then that's not a massive outlay to control your point of sale on that kind of scale. And for each incremental cost like that, you can bolt it on to another retail outlet. I've seen and heard of many point of sale systems costing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. So cost-wise, on the face of it, it seems like really, really good value for money.
Okay. That was just me being curious there, Scott.
Yep, sure.
Okay. So what one tip would you give to someone who is either looking to start selling online, or if they've already started online, what one tip would you give to them? Whichever one's easier.
Good question. Very difficult trying to narrow it down to one thing. I think if someone's about to start selling online, then a good bit of advice would be choose the right platform and the right system. Quite often, I'll see maybe a smaller business who doesn't need all of the power and might of Magento, but they've heard good things about it, or it's like an e-commerce buzzword, so they think that it's the one to go for. I think finding the right platform for your size of business and your needs is the best thing to do, and just make sure you do your homework and ask around. And if you've already got an existing e-commerce business, or you've just started an online business, then I think one of the most important things you can do is to test. We're forever testing things and learning so much and so many things that you assume you know, or you think you understand your customer, or you think you understand consumer behaviour. And when you actually start testing these things online, where you've often got enough volume to give you really accurate feedback and accurate data, then you can start to further improve your conversion, and you can further optimise your site, and you can do that knowing that you're making a change for the right reasons, and knowing that you've done your homework and you've run a test, and you're then in a very educated position to improve your store and to make changes.
So that's specifically on the website itself. Is there a specific tool which comes immediately to mind to make that easier for someone?
From a testing point of view?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of tools out there, things like Crazy Egg, Visual Website Optimizer, ClickTail is another one, which is a bit more of an enterprise solution.
Yeah.
Some of these are a bit more conversion rate optimization tools, and Visual Website Optimizer. It's a good testing tool, and you can do more simple tests if you move to Google Analytics, where you can set up maybe a simple A/B test just to compare one version against the other and see which gives you the best results.
Okay. Scott, daft question. Where can somebody find out more about you and Powerhouse Fitness?
For Powerhouse Fitness, we're obviously online, so powerhouse-fitness.co.uk. If you Google us, you'll find us on there. We're also on all the social media networks, so you'll find us on Google+, Facebook, Twitter. I myself am on LinkedIn, and you'll find me under Scott Beveridge on LinkedIn, and my profile and history is on there.
Fantastic. And we'll also include a link underneath the podcast as well, so that they can click through. Scott, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you. Thank you ever so much.
No problem.
Thank you so much to Scott for joining us and giving us all an insight into Powerhouse Fitness and how they use Magento and M2E Pro for eBay. We don't believe that Magento should be reserved for those with a degree in nerd, and that multi-channel software to help you and your business sell onto the marketplaces such as eBay should cost the earth anymore. As of today, which is very near the end of January 2014, we have over 60 video guides that will show you how each step of the way. All you need is an eBay account and zero knowledge of Magento is required. The rest is mustard. We'll see you there. Matt and Dave, understandinge.com. Cheerios!